Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to week 5 of this Women in Finance and Entrepreneurship series. What a beautiful season it has been. We are now finally at week 5 and we're quite excited. Every week has been amazing. We've gotten so much wisdom from different women across borders, and today is no different. We're getting more and more wisdom. What an exciting journey this has been. My name is Tumer Mahuzi, and I'm the head of internal audit, risk, and governance at Bahaga Group, a brand that is focused on impact. We want to see impact at all levels. We want to see impact through what we say, and this has been a series that actually has done that, brought us a lot of impact. As we'll be going through the journey of today, please feel free to comment in whatever social media space you're in, and welcome. Thank you for joining us. But feel free to comment throughout the show, and we'll make sure that we actually pose the questions that we have for the host. And as usual, I'm not alone. I'm here with a co-host who will introduce herself.
She never walks alone. Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 505. We're very excited to have you here today. My name is Mothoa-Frendo, and I am the managing director of Bahaga. I think we've said this over the past couple of weeks that Bahaga is a Tswana term that means champions, and we pride ourselves at Bahaga Group of being champions of big picture, leaders of change. We're so excited to have you here today again as we wrap up this series of women in finance and entrepreneurship. And today we have the entrepreneurs, the brand builders, just people who are charting new pathways and who have started and created from scratch. So excited. Um, Today we are talking everything about building, creating, um, just starting up in business, right? How do you build a brand? Where do you start? Where are entrepreneurs? And this series is it talks to everybody really today. We're talking to everybody. We're talking to prospective entrepreneurs. We're talking to you, even if you haven't even thought of yourself as an entrepreneur yet. You're probably just still thinking, still conceptualizing, still wondering where's the next step for me. Or somebody who has this great idea and they're thinking, how do I put this together? How do I bring it together? And also, how do I then turn this into a business that is sustainable, that is profitable, that will still be here in 10, 20, 30 years' time? Now, I'm excited. I'm very excited to be bringing Iyami Lifestyle to you. Iyami was co-founded by Nonhlahla Magubela. Nonhlahla Magubela is actually quite an interesting story that she has, quite an interesting journey it has been for her, because she's actually a BSc chemistry a graduate with a postgrad from UNISA and a master's in business science from GIBS, which actually, I guess, explains the journey and how she got here today. But I'm quite interested as to how somebody transitions from being a chemistry major, being in a lab and mixing all sorts of chemicals and thinking, maybe I want to be a marketer. I want to be the face. I want to be able to sell this. And then moving from that and saying, I've proven that I can sell other people's brand. How about I create my own and sell it? So we're excited to have Nana with us today, Nonhlahla Magubela, Nana for short today. And we will be later at about 12:15, we'll be later be joined by another phenomenal woman, also with quite an interesting journey that has just evolved and transitioned over the years. And I think it just has been a theme with all these great women that sometimes you don't have to have the full plan. You're in matric and you're wondering, just think about the next step and take it, because you don't have to have the full, this is how my life is going to pan out, because these journeys have evolved in amazing, phenomenal ways, but in ways also that we like, I never imagined I'll be today. So Dr. Theo Mothoa-Frendo is actually a medical doctor by profession, who spent quite a number of years after qualifying as a medical doctor in the pharmaceutical industry. So she spent more time in the pharmaceutical industry with research and development of medicine, with also strategy development throughout Africa, actually, for a number of years. And after all of that, she's like, you know what, I'm actually passionate about skin. I've always been passionate about skin, but when I go into the market, I cannot find anything that is of African descent. All these great products that exist are global products. So let me go out and create my own product, because I mean, I'm a medical doctor. I understand what research and development goes into building products from a pharmaceutical or medical point of view. So let me build this. So I'm very excited that we're having both women here today. Now, until Dr. Theo Mothoa-Frendo can join us, let's
I'm here.
welcome Nonhlahla Magubela. Oh, she's here. She's here. She's here. She's here. Okay, great. Oh, great. It's great
I'm
to
so
have you both
sorry.
here, ladies. No,
Just
bring up.
unexpected. Hi, ladies.
I'm so excited to have you both. I'm so excited. Nonhlahla, can you tell us the evolution? So you have this aspiration of studying chemistry, and you actually do go study chemistry. Like, take us from way back to why did you think chemistry? Who is Nonhlahla? You from KZN? Tell us, give us the whole journey. We're very excited to hear.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, everyone, for having me. It's an honor and a privilege to be here today. So, yes, my journey is quite interesting. When you were just talking now, I found similarities between chemistry and what I do now. So, and I'll share that now. So, originally, I'm from KZN. I am actually a village girl. Hey? I spent the first 12 years of my life in the rural areas in KZN. There I was collecting water. I even had my own goats. So I was living in a farm and being a, yeah, so that's my interesting background. But at a later stage, then I went to study at UKZN. I studied chemistry. Well, I can't say I was passionate about it. I can say I was good in maths at the time. And so science was something that was advised that you maybe just go into sciences, science studies. You're very analytical, and so I went in and did chemistry. There was also a thing about just wearing lab coats, and I love that. So I can't say I had a higher purpose for it. I can't think of one that I used to. I didn't see myself lasting long in the lab. So I enjoyed the feeling of being in the lab and creating. That was it. So I studied chemistry, and then when I was after graduating, I got a job to work in the lab. So that was a very interesting job. So I was working for a company called Clariant. They make paper chemicals for companies such as your Mondis and Sapis, etc. So I would work, and the sales team would come and give me what the customer requires. So the customer needs a modification in the formula of their paper. So let's talk about the printing paper. If it has to be white, so they say no, we need to see if we can improve the brightness of this paper. That's the work that then I do in the lab to determine what chemicals need to go in there to make it much more whiter or brighter. And so these guys used to come back, and after the customer approves the work that I've done in the lab, and be excited, and then the business gets a deal from that. So that was exciting for them. And I felt like, well, I work so hard in the lab and they're getting all the fun. Really, they're celebrating and I'm still stuck in the lab. And, if you know the sales culture, if you've been in sales, you know what sales culture is really fun. That's where all the fun happens. People go and play golf. There's gifting. There's all that. I was like still working in the lab and not enjoying all that. So I started to aspire that maybe I need to be out there selling instead of being in the lab, And well, I went and started looking for jobs that would consider me in sales for with the little experience I had. And thank God I got a job that did that. I then joined Tonga Hewlett at the time. Tonga Hewlett started as a technical sales rep. So now I was mixing sales and my chemistry experience. Also, it was still in the paper industry. I enjoyed that because it taught me quite a lot. It taught me relationships, to be able to talk to a general manager of the plant and to be able to talk to an operator. I thoroughly enjoyed that. But I still was not satisfied because I felt like I really, really love sales. I actually want to transition fully into sales. I used to carry this huge suitcase when I used to see clients, obviously with my calibrated instruments to go and measure at a client site. And I was like, no, man, I wanna look pretty, you know, I wanna be girly and 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 just being full in sales. I felt like that's what I needed to do. So I then joined I was lucky. So I was able to find jobs that met my aspirations. I joined Procter and Gamble, and if you know, Procter and Gamble is known in the market within FMCG as a company that trains. You know, it's like your first university. It trains a lot of graduate people that have just graduated. Companies aspire to hire people with Procter and Gamble experience, and the environment there was like amazing for me. So it's like I felt like that was the start of my career, really. That was the beginning of me coming to live my purpose, that being in sales and being in FMCG. So that's how I transitioned from being a chemist to being in sales. Luckily as well, the companies like Procter and Gamble, they don't hire you. I don't know if that has changed. They don't hire you for maybe necessarily your qualification. They just want to know how you think, how you process things. So that's why I was able to easily transition with them. That was my introduction into what changed my career and probably what changed to how I even got into starting a business, right? So between then and now, I was just moving between companies, but within FMCG in sales and different sales and marketing roles. While I was in sales, I transitioned to pure marketing at some point. I think within Tiger Brand, that was my first introduction. And then McCain and Console. So yeah, so I just did a number of roles, different roles within sales and marketing. And that whole experience, really, I was able to understand the value chain and branding. So if you understand the value chain, how a product starts from scratch, remember I'm coming from the lab where I create from scratch, right? That's how I'm saying there's a link. And now I'm in the selling part of it where a created product now has to be sold to a customer and must end up in the hands of consumers. So I just then that understanding for me was an eye opener. I felt like at some point I would have to create something of my own. It would be really nice to have something of my own. So I had always had that aspiration of having something of my own. I just didn't know the something. It hadn't come to mind at the time. Until then I did the MBA. So the MBA was quite an eye-opener for me. It opened my mind quite a bit. So after my MBA, or in fact, just the last months of the MBA, you sort of start to, you become restless. What am I going to do now? My mind is so restructured. I've got so much energy and I want to live my purpose. So I think most people feel that way. I at least felt that way. I needed to live my purpose. And I at the time, I felt I was not really fulfilled in my job. I really felt like I could make a difference. And I had a very then enlightening session, or a light bulb moment with myself during these sessions. I mean, I think it was December 2016, having this thought. And the interesting thing now, because I had done marketing and the jobs that I had been in marketing had taught me to find opportunities. Marketing, when you're in pure marketing, especially where you create products, you are able to analyze trends, and through trends, you are able to pick insights that work for the benefit of the business, right? So I had done that for so many years. I felt like I was good at that. So there was a trend in the market at the time. There was a trend about African prints. I think us as Africans, we were self-actualizing. If you remember, there was a trend on us wearing the doek. There was a doek movement in the corporate space, right? So that it's all happening at once, and I'm observing all this. But remember, now I've just told you how my mind works because of the space I've been in. So I'm observing the trends, and there was an afro. There was an afro trend. If you remember, the kids were fighting to have afro in their private schools, right? And then there was a flood of African prints There were T-shirts that your time is now, Africa, your time is now. And the question I had in mind about African prints was, why are they called African prints? I wondered that. And I said, so if they're African prints, and also where is mine? Because I can't relate to this. I accept it, I embrace it. I just don't know why it's called African print, you know. The reason I was even exposed to them was because obviously we go to functions, right? So I would see a lot of people now wearing this. I'm like, I'm also going to a function. I need to get someone to make it for me. I really can't relate. I'm just embracing that African prints are here. Everyone is excited. So I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, the other revelation I had was just then was about actually even the big brands. I'm talking about your Louis Vuitton, your Gucci. The stuff is printed. It was printed. That's why they could have it from swimwear to bags, to suitcases, to socks, to everything really. So it's actually a print. That was a huge light bulb moment for me. Oh, this is actually a print. So people create this artwork. In other words, this is artwork. People create this artwork, and this artwork can be then printed on any surface, right?
Yeah.
I still don't have mine. What if I created mine? You know? And the thinking then was like, well, what could speak to me? I'm Zulu. I'm a Zulu girl from KZN, like I explained, I'm from KZN. So you can see how everything blends in with even my upbringing. So I'm like, well, in KZN, where I grew up, we grew up with beads, right? And I see people are wearing beads. In fact, they're wearing them as if they are clothes these days. You know, that was my thinking. Maybe they are looking for something like clothing, you know, and that speaks to me, and maybe it will speak to a number of people as well, you know. So that was the thinking I had, and then I was like, okay, let me find someone. And I have to confess that I'm not even talented. I can't even draw a tree, or even so I'm not a designer. I can't even draw, so I'm not talented that way. So I was lucky enough to find people that could indulge me. So I found someone with a great graphic design. I'm like, look, I've got this idea, can you draw this for me? So I literally had to guide them to translate what is in my mind. I had a picture of the actual beads, which is what we have on our website. That picture is the picture I use. I'm like, no, this is a picture, can you draw this, you know, graphically, you know? And so obviously we didn't win immediately, and then so over time we just got it right. And then once we had it, I'm like, shucks, then we can do as many of these prints as we want, you know. That was it. That's how we started, and here we are today. So I'm taken quite long, but yeah, that's how we started. That's how we
No, we love it. We love it. We're so drawn to you and your story. Thank you, Nana, for sharing your journey. That was so interesting. Dr. Theo Mothoa-Frendo. Welcome. And yeah, Doctor, please take us through your journey.
I thought you did, and I thought you did quite a good job. As I was dialing in, I had the tail end.
Because I was like, I'm just being very brief.
Okay, all right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Bahaka, for having me in your Women in Finance and Entrepreneurship webinar. I'm quite honored. I always enjoy having these conversations. You know, learning so much as well. You know, I look forward to learning so much from Nonhlahla as well. For my mates from Gibbs, yeah, great to see everyone. So I think Mothoa-Frendo really said, you know, the basics of my journey, and it really was just like that, right? I have a medical background, but I spent most of my career in pharmaceuticals and clinical research and product development and launching products, pharmaceutical products, particularly oncology drugs, that's cancer drugs. And I worked for a Swiss pharmaceutical company here in South Africa and the rest of Africa doing that. And then I was their medical director as well for Sub-Saharan Africa. And, you know, with along my travels, right? One thing, that's always been a given is that Theo will buy skincare wherever she goes, right? I had the biggest skincare collection. I don't know anyone else who had, right? Every country I go to, I'm buying skincare products. The more expensive, the better. It was just the thing that I was completely obsessed about. And it started in teenagehood. That's when I started really being fascinated by the science of skincare. And I guess as a scientist, I also liked the intersection of science as well as a consumer product and luxury as well, right? So that kind of intersection, I've always been fascinated. Then later on I decided that it's time for new beginnings, and then I left corporate. And while taking a little bit of a break, I decided, well, I might as well just learn something new, and I went to go to Gibbs to do my MBA. And that's actually when the idea of creating a skincare brand came about at the beginning of the MBA program. And it was just like that. Like one morning, I looked at my shelf and I thought, wow, this is a lot of skincare products. This is so much money. And why am I always so unhappy? I'm always unhappy, right? I'm always unhappy. I feel that some of these products are not really addressing the skincare needs that I'm experiencing, particularly, as I mature, particularly hyperpigmentation, finding sunscreen that really leaves no gray, does not make me look like a ghost at all. Those are the two aspects. And then looking around in the market, I realized that actually there are no skincare brands in the market that have been specifically formulated for majority of the population in the country. So 80% of females in South Africa are African, and there were no skincare brands formulated for our specific skin concerns. Most products were targeting wrinkles, and we know black don't crack, right? So wrinkles are not our main issue. We are more concerned about uneven skin tone. We're concerned about hyperpigmentation. We're concerned about excessive oiliness. We don't want to look like ghosts. Those are our focus areas, and no one was really addressing that. Of course, the market is highly and still is highly dominated by global and foreign multinationals. So yeah, so that's when I decided that if not me, then who, right? If I've been obsessed about skincare all my life, and might as well start saving myself money and making some money. And that's where the journey started. And like Nonhlahla, I'm not a marketing person. Well, I am quite creative, but I realized that marketing is a special skill, right? I'm a scientist, right? I can develop anything under the sun, but I'm not a marketer, and I needed somebody who I can partner with. And this is at the beginning of the journey. And then I did partner with somebody who's a marketing and branding specialist, expert, well known in the country, to help us develop and shape what this brand is going to be, starting from selecting a name, right? What does it be? What would it, Uso means, actually, Uso is a take on, is a Swahili word, which means face, direct translation, but it's also a Zulu word, ubuso, right? We wanted a name that's simple, that's transportable to other markets, as in like everyone can pronounce it without having an issue. We had to consider things around branding with regards to the product branding. Things like, is this product range going to be Afrocentric, right, in positioning? Or is it going to be more of like a Swiss lame product but developed for Africans, And we did a lot of research and focus groups. I actually did my MBA thesis on understanding South African women behavior, consumer behavior around luxury skincare. So I got a lot of information from that, that helped us shape actually how the product would look like. We knew that no, Matakolo was never going to buy the product if it had zebra stripes on it, So we had to understand that, yes, although people understand that it's a product formulated here for our specific concerns, but they still want to have the experience of a luxury product, also the perception that it is science driven, So it should be like a product that is developed in Africa but could actually be from Switzerland. So hence the branding of our product looks the way it looks like. So yeah. Yeah. How far I'm supposed to intro?
Thank you so much, and thank you for getting into what's in the name as well, of the branch, because that was my next questions to both of you, because and I like that. Thank you for sharing and giving us insight on the name, Dr. Theo. Nonhlahla, let me get back to you on Iami. What's in the name?
All right. So Eyami is actually very simple. It means mine. It's a Nguni word. It's not really Zulu per se. I mean, not Zulu only. It works in Xhosa. It's just a Nguni word that says mine. So this was hi. Did I just disappear? Hi, sorry, I lost you there.
Yeah, no, we can hear you, but the sound keeps disappearing a little bit.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Fantastic. So Eyami means mine. It was what was going through my mind was like finally something that is relatable, not necessarily to me, but our culture. It's just this is it. This is my culture, my heritage, mine. Simple for me.
Great. So we have Ubuso and Uso and mine, and so relatable and so close. And I like the fact that we are now building brains, and we are proudly and taking and just naming giving them naming them in our African languages, because Uso is Swahili said. Trans
Yes.
and but also it's Ubuso. Yeah. That is, and I think from both experiences and just talking about the brand, so you ladies have invested a lot around the product. Like there's so much that goes into product development. Can we talk to the importance of taking your time to do your research and development, building your product as well, and how you finally get this product in the market? Dr. Theo, let's start with you. While we wait for Nonhlahla to join us back.
Okay. So yes, and you're quite right, Matlakunolo. It's actually really not as easy as and as quick as it sometimes comes across once a product is in market. It took us 3 years to develop the range, right? That is from the formulation, as in what's inside the bottle. We partnered. Although I'm a scientist, I'm a more pharmaceutical. I'm not a cosmetic scientist by training.
Yeah.
So partnership always for me. I think, and I think really at the beginning of every journey, a person, a starter, entrepreneur must really recognize where their strengths lie and where they need support. So I knew that I definitely need a cosmetic scientist, right? And then I had to make sure that I find the right person who's the best in the country, who will understand my vision for this range, right? And I spoke as well about the marketing part. Even with the marketing, we actually had to get a brand designer, the specialist, to come and create the brand, all sorts of things. I mean, I remember like I've got some of the products here, like, for us to get here, I think this is iteration number 6, over 3 years, and we had to think through how is this going to live? How, when we add other products, how's this branding going to go? You see, like our products are all numbered, and then there's a reason for that. It's usability. It's like you go from 01 to 07 or whatever, right? And that's the order you use the product. They are color coded. Some are white, some are black, and then the white ones for the day, the black ones for the night. A lot went into it, and it's a long journey, and it's a journey where you have to exercise patience, right? Of course, keeping your eye on the ball that at some point you need to launch into the market, right? So yeah, so there's the formulation part, and then there's the branding part, and in developing the branding, right? design, we went through very. I thought there was like quite an exciting and yeah, a very special period when we're designing the brand and we're, doing all this research and researching all the skincare brands, researching fragrance brands, researching South African brands, Swiss brands, American brands, and where do we want to live in that space, and then how will this brand actually inform the future? It's like when we add new products, when we want to do different ranges, how flexible can we make this brand and so forth. Yeah, so it took us about 3 years, a lot of time, a lot of investment, a lot of research. Brands are not built in. I strongly believe that brands are not built internally. You can't just create your brand in the office. You actually have to co-create with the people that are going to be your target market. So we had a lot of focus groups. Even like just like I guess the language of the brand is of your product is what the brand uses as part of branding. I remember us having a focus group and discussing like things that I never would have imagined we'd be discussing, like what does an African woman want to be referred to as? Is this a skincare range for Africans? Is this a skincare range for women of color? How do people self-identify? So I think the basis of a great brand development process is research. That's for sure. And if I had to give anyone any advice, is that you have to be committed to doing the research and testing and before you launch. Does that answer your question, Mala?
It does. It does. And I like the fact that, and you mentioned quite a number of things. It's about partnership, identifying your strength, and getting into partnership. It's about co-creating. And I like the fact that you brought in the time into it to say it took you 3 years. Because sometimes you think, I have this idea, tomorrow I make it big, or 6 months I make it big. Because you can't really time it. It just depends on the journey, the evolution, and how you build, and also what's feeding back from the market and your target market as well. Um, um, and also, before I get to Nana, because I know the other thing about USO specifically is that not all your product, you didn't have everything figured out on one day, so you didn't launch all products in one day. I've noted that you added the exfoliator like a year or two ago, and then recently added the eye cream as well. Can we talk? Can we talk to a little bit of phasing in as well of your products, that you don't have to have the range, you know?
Yes, so I think for me it was for us it was important to you have to have, well, at least in this kind of product category, we felt that it's important to have a complete range for home use, your basics, your essentials, right?
Yes.
Based on our research, it doesn't really work to have launched. It wouldn't have worked well to have launched one cream, right? Because you have so many. Like if you imagine, like in today's world of e-commerce, right? If you have one cream, so you're expecting your customers to actually pay for shipping every single time they buy one cream, and then have to
Yeah.
go and figure out what other products will actually go well with that one cream of yours. So we wanted to do all the work, and offer a complete solution for all your essentials at home, skin treatment. And then as we go along, and then based on the needs and feedback we get from clients, and people are telling us, oh, we need an exfoliator. And then we had to think what exfoliator formulation would go well with our range, and do the research, and then the same with an eye cream. And we have a couple of other products that will hopefully launch before the festive season. So, I think in terms of evolution and development, product development, and adding on, yeah, some of them. I mean, like this one that I'm so excited about. I can't wait to launch it. But like that's like no one asked for it, but I'm like, oh, I've got an idea. I'm going to do it, and they're going to love it. And then other products, it's people actually, your customers say, really, I'm struggling to choose. I don't know what to choose for eye cream, and I don't know what to. And also, it's also understanding your clients, right? It's like, for example, as a brand, we understand that most of our clients are women like us. They are busy, right? They are not skincare fundies. They are not skincare influencers. They don't know the skincare ingredients, and they actually have no interest in doing that. So, and it's quite important, like for any brand to understand their audience, right? Because we can go on a complicated, introducing complicated products that are complicated to incorporate, and we'll lose our clients because our clients are not interested in doing that. They just want to hear, use this, and they just use it, and they come back and repurchase. So I think it's quite important to understand and listen to your clients.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Theo. I think like you, and I like the fact that we're stressing on it's a partnership, it's a co-creation with your client, with your audience. You always need to be putting your ear back on the ground and listening as to what is needed in the market. But also something that you mentioned as well, you will have passion projects on the side there where you get to just indulge, and hopefully it will be well received. Yeah, but I like that you're stressing that you constantly listening to the market. Nonhlahla, you actually touched a little bit on the Iyami lifestyle sort of product development. Can you maybe add as to, perhaps how long it took you to develop the prints and put them in the design? And I know also you had to partner with designers to actually, because now you have this print and now you have to make it into something wearable. That whole journey, let's get into that. Yeah.
All right. First of all, well done, Dr. Theo. Your story sounds amazing of your product development, and I must confess, I must actually go and buy. I think you because I follow you. I think your products are available at Edgar's, right? So I'm gonna go and check them out.
I know you have a store at Mall of Africa, right? Because I've been there to your
Yes,
store.
yes.
You can find the products at BD and Tap at Mall of Africa, right?
Oh, yes. I know them.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So yes. So one thing I did mention, because you're talking about brand building, is while building a brand, I'm also building a business, right? So I've got a business partner, my co-founder Zonke, who I have to mention,
Yes.
and that we've been walking the journey with, right? So I may have had the vision, but it's almost impossible when you're building both the brand and the business to walk this. It's quite a difficult journey to walk it alone. So I am not alone. At times it may feel that way, but I always know that I've got people that have got the same interest and are looking after. I'm going to make sure that we survive, and we make it.
Yeah.
So yeah. So in building the prints themselves, so I found the first graphic designer, and he didn't understand what I was saying. He didn't draw, let's put it that way. He didn't draw what I had in mind. So we parted ways. Then I found another. This is the current one I'm using. So I've been working with her ever since the business started. So I'm also quite very loyal. So that one, luckily she has a cultural understanding. She's also a Zulu person. She understood me immediately, and I said, can you draw something like this? Even though she didn't get it immediately. I think we got it in first few tries. But even when we got it right, we hadn't got it right to meet the printing specifications. So you can't just create it doesn't work. You don't just draw and say, please go print this. There are specifications that the people that print on fabric or I suppose any item, they're looking for the artwork, the format of the artwork to come in. So
Yeah.
after we're so proud of ourselves, we've created this and we sent it to the printers. Well, with many tries, eventually we understood what they were looking for in terms of their specification. For example, they say your artwork must be 1 meter by, I'm making an example, by 1.5, something like that. And it must be able to be repeatable. So those things we had to learn the hard way. Our first items, our artwork had faults, but obviously because the customers were so excited, we also didn't know that it had faults, right? So we learned, so we improved over time. We got better, and so unfortunately, and I feel sorry for people that started, that joined us early on. I appreciate them, but I just feel like, oh my gosh, the quality of what we do now compared to the quality that we offered then is quite different, right? So that was just the journey of us creating the prints. We now obviously have about 40 prints. Actually, no, it's 50 prints now. We're adding new ones. They are coming in the next 2 weeks, which is exciting. They are very different from what we have, but they still are on the theme of the Zulu beadwork. So yeah, we've come a long way with our artwork.
Sure. Yeah. And how does then, because with you is two-pronged, right? Because the artwork then you put into this cloth, and then you actually then design it into lifestyle items, everyday items that you can
Absolutely. Absolutely. So once you've got the artwork, then you've got the platform to you choose. So as a team, we decide how we're going to use this, right? It was a choice that we're going into clothing because like how I saw the opportunity. And for now, that's the biggest market. It doesn't stop us from going, for example, into wallpaper. Any item you can imagine, we can print on any item that we choose. It's that simple,
Yes.
really. That's how big this idea is. Now, I've got a clothing designer. So there's two aspects. You've got the artwork. That's the starting point. If you follow let's assume this is a flow diagram for this business, right? So you've got the artwork that has to start everything, because then it decides, depending on how it looks, we then say, oh, this would really look nice in a dress. This artwork would look nice in a dress. Then my designer and I will decide, all right, please make something for me that put in your designer skills and tell me what you can make: dresses, blouses, swimwear. Then that's what we do. Once we've decided, then we can now go and decide, let me print on the fabric. So I have suppliers in a way, people that, not suppliers, suppliers, people that I would send my artwork to. They specialize in just printing. This is what they do. So I would send my artwork in their required format, and I'd say, all right, or with them as well, they have different fabrics, right? They have different fabric types. So they've got satin, polysatin, they've got chiffon, they've got cotton. Now, once my designer has decided and has what dresses or what items we're putting forward, she also tells me what fabric would work better with this item. So it's a flowy dress. It must be in a chiffon, it must be in a satin, right? Then when I now speak to the printers, right, I then say, please, here's my artwork. This artwork, please print it on chiffon. Print so many rolls. It's that simple. And then then obviously we get the rolls printed in our artwork, and then we make clothes, and then we put them in the store. Similarly with your swimwear. Swimwear, unfortunately, we're not making them in-house as yet. We don't have the skill sets because we wanted really, really high quality swimwear. So I work with people that make swimwear for most of South African companies, like really, really high quality. So I would obviously speak to them with my artwork, and they would say, these are the designs, work with the designs. These are the designs we have in mind. We'll collaborate back and forth until I'm like, yes, these are the designs I want this season now. Like now we've got upcoming swimwear. That's the process I just went through. I'm actually getting samples next week. I'm very excited. So like, these are the swimwear I want, designs. Let's make samples, and please print same fabric for swimwear, so you don't have to choose types of fabric, and then you make it happen, and then it comes, once you've approved the samples, then you go on full production, and then it comes into the store. So that's really is the value chain.
Sure. That's a mouthful. I think one of the key things, and ladies, I want us to just move to how do we, from a copyright point of view, when we're building all these brands, right? how do we ensure that we actually protect our brands? Because that's one important thing. We have to build this big brand, but at the same time, we must protect it. So, what are the key things, maybe Dr. Theo? And I don't know from a space point of view whether is that prevalent as big as it is in fashion, but how do we ensure that we actually copyright and make sure that we protect the brand that is also?
Yeah, no. So in cosmetics, skincare, I think copyright is actually quite important across all industries, right? So we are actually in the process now. We hadn't done it before. We're in the process of doing the copywriting for our brand and all of that. And you can actually see that now, even like at like the likes of China Mall, there's already counterfeit of skincare products and makeup. Not our brand, thank God, right? But like the global brand, right? They China Mall or whoever Instagram Marketplace. I actually saw a report the other day on South Africa and globally in general how there's now an increase in skincare and makeup counterfeit products. I mean, which is quite scary because I mean, of course, you're applying this on your face. It's uh, questionable formulations, questionable ingredients. That's definitely something that I think everyone should look into it. I think in South Africa, we the challenge that we found, which probably delayed us, was that uh, we actually most of the law firms were not experienced with copywriting local skincare brands, so they had to go and figure out which part can you actually copyright the formulation versus the name versus the look and feel design of the product and so forth. But as well, the cost is also quite a lot, right? I think when you're starting your business, there's so many aspects of the business that require funding. That my goodness, when you now is copyright, I'm like, what's this thing? No, later. It is unfortunate, and I really thinking, it's such a pity that our government is not. I don't know. Yeah, I wish they can do more to protect South Africa's assets, right?
Yeah.
Because assets, right? And I know, I follow Nonhlahla on social media, and I know her journey with counterfeiting of her fabrics and all of that. The same with Matosa. It is so sad to see that, like to see people selling all these counterfeit products. It's actually just unacceptable, right? We got to protect our national assets, really.
No, I definitely like that approach. And I think Nonhlahla, I think you're very passionate about this. All of us see it on social media and everywhere else, and how the impact of it really in your business as well. Maybe let's speak to it. Speak to what do we do as entrepreneurs to actually protect ourselves. I mean, fashion is fast paced. It's quite different. So you get different materials coming through all the time. So how do we protect ourselves? Like, what do we do?
Yo, that's a hard one, right? Because even big brands are in the same boat as we do, especially now when you think about them having a financial muscle that we don't have, and they're not even succeeding. How do we protect ourselves from people whose business model is to copy, right? They have invested money in specializing in copying, in copying mechanism. So it's an interesting one. Very obviously for me, I've shared this with you. It's quite a very painful journey. When you're starting out, and Theo touched on it now. She says when you're starting out, you've got limited resources, especially money, right? And you have to choose that I now need to go and fight these people or continue to grow my brand. It's a choice that you need to make because your money or resource that you have you won't be able to accommodate both. It's quite an expensive exercise. So it's a difficult one, right? You do what you can. Let's put it that way. From our side, our prints are copyright. So we have IP lawyers that guide and advise us. So we do the bare minimum we can do at this stage, which is obviously when we find people that are using our stuff, we would send them lawyer letters to say, listen, this is copyright infringement. And for us to get to a point of saying that it's copyright infringement, our lawyers have had to prove that we own this, right? So you have to prove that you own the copyright. So we can showcase that we own it. So then they are able to write these legal letters to say this person is infringing on AME copyright, and we send those that we can send. But now social media is a huge medium, right? So there's so many of them. We don't know today who's posting AME lookalike. And we're not everywhere. We don't have eyes everywhere to see who's doing it when they're doing it. That's the problem. But we do what we can. Now, there is other big things we can do. Doesn't mean they're going to stop, right? Is to take them to court. And she explained nicely, Theo. Now, I even know what it costs because I've tried that avenue. I just stopped when they said, all right, so doing this will cost you so much. It's okay, right? I'd rather just use all this money to build a brand. So it's really take them to court, and that's the avenue that you'd have to take. But it's quite expensive to actually take them, go through to court. Even though you will probably win, but I mean, it's the resources, the limited resources you are using that you could be using to continue build the brand at the time. That's the sad part. You just do what you can. Unfortunately, they have mastered the art of copying. Their job is to. So think about it. Like we've got people in the business that work to make sure that AME improves, innovates, etc., etc. They've got same people in their business that make sure they are good in copying, right? Because their business model is copying. So I think AME, for example, I think they've got people that work to monitor a brand, our brand, that's AME. What's new under AME? I'm sure there are meetings that were mentioned. What's new there? All right, they've introduced this new print. All right, let's go, you know. So they've got resources that they've put into a business like ours to monitor and see what we do. Unfortunately, at this point, we are not big enough to win that fight. Like I'm saying, even big brands are struggling to win that fight. So you just do what you can.
It's also because there is a market, because for every seller really there's a market. It means there's a market out there that's actually willing to buy those goods, and that's where the problem is. And I think that's the awareness we need to actually bring to our normal consumers, that once you do that, you actually are killing our brands, you're killing our South African brands. And I think I want to now move to more the components that we need to think of when you actually are building this brand. I think Dr. Theo, you did touch on it a bit earlier. I how you spoke to packaging. I mean, those that you have the black one for night. For a person like myself, I would need to have something like that says this is night. The packaging is black. I know this for night, and the other one is for day, because it would make it so easy. But what other components do we need to actually think about as we building the brand? But as well, my thing is more on how do we ensure that whatever we're doing is consistent. We're having this brand and it's consistent, and we actually are able to make sure that it grows all in all.
Okay. So let me think. Okay, so I'll start with how we introduce the brand into the market. So how we actually launch the brand. So we always wanted to position the brand as a premium skincare brand that's science driven, that will in future be able to that is positioned to be able to compete with big foreign brands, the likes of Clinique, Clarins, whoever, Lame, Dermalogica. And for us, when we launched, it was important to launch the brand in a way that speaks to that aspirational vision, right? So what we did is that we we had a pop-up for a 1 week period in Sandton City, right in front of Cartier. And I invested, instead of investing in copyright at that time, I took that money and invested in building a pop-up structure, the most beautiful I could find,
Sure.
and employing and training the most elegant and highly qualified aesthetic and somatologist, skin specialist, and having it pop up for 7 days and making it inclusive, as in everyone is coming. Like we had discussions around, are we going to have like a cocktail event where we invite VIPs, or are we going to like, no, I don't want that, right? Because then I invite Magubela, then I don't invite Nonhlahla, and that means Nonhlahla will never buy my product. No, I don't want that. It must be inclusive. Everyone must be able to come. The pop-up was like open from like 9 a.m. until 9 p.m. and people came. We had such a great turnout for a new brand that doesn't have a mother brand, as in we're not owned by L'Oreal or whoever, right? People came and people were fascinated by this. And we just sat there right in front of Katie and Mont Blanc, and we said, this is where we belong, right? And this is what we see the brand living, right? And I think that's quite important, because that that has stayed with the brand, how we introduce it into the market, right? And continuing is like, as we evolved and we went into big retail. Somebody asked about Edgar's and Nonhlahla. So we were with Edgar's, right? For us, we went into Edgar's because it was important that if we're going to be able to have a chance at competing for market share with Clarence and whoever, we actually have to be available in stores, right? You can't have your own standalone store, because who are you? You're so small. No one's gonna go there. They're gonna go where they usually buy their skincare. And at that point, Edgar's was by far the market leader in skincare, right? So we went, it was great, and we're there on the shelves, and then whatever happened with Adcon Group, and
Yeah.
and things changed. And this talks to branding. I'm still talking about branding actually. When things when Edgar's was purchased by another group, it changed, and I'm not sure if other you guys have seen how the changes were not aligned to our brand and where we saw the USO brand evolving, right? So then we decided to exit. The target market wasn't the same anymore. The store layout wasn't the same anymore. Not the same quality. As products were dusty, and we decided to exit. On a, now another growth path, and then we have think we have found. I can't really say much about it. Another home, a retail home. So yeah, so we look to that where we think we are better aligned with the right. So in terms of, I guess, part of marketing, the 7 Ps or however they are nowadays, it's about position, and where your products can be found, right? And how the product show up to the target market or target audience. Always try for it to be consistent, to be, and some of it is like hard decisions, particularly with how the brand, so how the brand shows up. Like we've had like a lot of people approach us. We do a lot of some pop-ups, but we have to be quite selective, right? There's some where we can't, like it's not possible. Although, and then you're like, oh, so much foot traffic, it's so great, but then you're like, yeah, it's not going to work. It's and you have to actually be consistent about it, right? Or else you're going to find over the show, right? In terms of the planning, and of course, the first few years, as much as we all want to make money, we all know that the first few years is dedicated to building a brand, and a strong brand, right? Um, and yeah, some compromises have to be made, with regards to where the brand shows up. We have a lot of people asking us, why don't you retail there? Why don't you retail there? Why don't you retail there? And it's not quick decisions to make. It has to be quite yeah, you have to be very considerate about it. And I'm sure Nonhlahla can share with us, because how your journey matches the Ayami brand, and that's showcase it. Congratulations. So,
So for me,
Ocean Mall store. Ocean Mall, right?
thank you so much. Yes, it's Ocean's Mall, right? Yeah.
Ocean's Mall.
So I think Yes,
Yeah.
it's oceans more. So I think for it's just, well, I think it helps that I've got a background and quite an intensive experience in sales and in marketing, right?
Yeah.
So so it starts for us. It started with who are we targeting? So once that was clear that we're targeting upper middle class and how much they're willing to spend, and what their habits and behavior is like, then you are able to determine the positioning, which is the price point. Where should we be pricing this? So once you know what you're pricing it for, therefore it means that's quality. If it's expensive, it means it's quality. You are then forced to make the product that speaks to the price point that you are talking to. Once that's clear, then you're like, all right, how is the in-store experience going to look like? So that was determined, that was discussed in the business plan, what we want them to feel when they were. I was creating, for me, I had in mind of what I had in mind, I think I was able to achieve was a candy store. For when you walk into a candy store, so many beautiful things there. It's like, I don't know what to buy because of the many prints we're offering. So we have, like now, like I said, we've got about 50 prints, and we can print on anything from bucket hats to a dress to a swimwear. That's what I had in mind. But the gap already in the market was, when you buy African prints, you buy them in some dodgy corner. Someone has to make it for you. So I wanted to create this in-store experience that my target market that's able to meet my target market's lifestyle. That if my target market is from Waterfall, they're already living in a state. I want them to walk into that mall and not and there shouldn't be any shock. They should feel like it's an extension of their home, right? They should just walk in there. It's a breeze, be in the store and shop. So that was, and then so the elements that we put in the brand, how the brand name, how it looks like, even on the packaging, the store itself, what elements speak to the brand that's gonna align to this premium positioning. So even this design of the store, I had to brief them. This is my target market. This is the person I'm competing with. My person, when they go and shop in your, for example, Woolworths, they would be buying at Country Road. So I'm looking for that kind of breeze, ease. They mustn't be able to look for clothes. No, they're not gonna be looking for clothes in the hangers here for a long time. No, they don't have that time, right? So everything had to speak to, but the starting point was, who is it for? How much are they worth? How much do they spend, right? And then everything flows from there. That's how you build. And the elements, the consistency, how you show up then is determined by you've already put down your elements. That each store must have the following elements for people to recognize that it's AM. That's pure branding. You always, AM is always to show up this way. Obviously, our stores will differ slightly, like more like your Nando's kind. There will be elements that a Durban store has that a Joburg store doesn't have, right? And obviously, also the space that you get when you get into a mall determines what elements can you put in. But once you are in the, you will see it. I'm in Ayami here. That's what branding is. You're not confused when you walk into a Louis Vuitton store, a Gucci store, a Woolworths store. You just know I'm now at Woolworths. The smell, the music they play. So we had that down to the T. We had that down. Like, I want this kind of music. Remember, my target market is like this. This is the smell I want for the store. The store must smell like this way every day. This is what you do to make sure that the store has this consistent kind of scent about it. Everything is.
Just to maybe just expand on that and maybe summarize in a sense, and I want us to bring it to just business terms now. What would you say is your value proposition? So what is the value proposition of your brand as Yummy, as Uso? What is the value proposition? Maybe let's bring it to those terms now. In 2 sentences, what would you say?
So start.
You can start. You can start with that now.
No, she can start. I want to hear.
I was actually going to say, can you repeat the question, please?
What is your value proposition?
What are you selling?
Uso.
I'm selling glowing skin like Mothoa-Frendo. That's all. So I think, yeah, but that's true. That's that. I mean, like we can go and let me see what they say here. Box. So I mean, Uso skincare, we describe Uso skincare as really as an advanced science-driven skincare formulated specifically for the skincare needs of Africans. Now that you're saying it, maybe I need to relook so that I know what exactly to say, right? But essentially, we're selling the was if I can put it just in my own words, I'm selling the promise of glowing skin, right? Of hydrated glowing skin. I'm selling the belief that actually there's somebody out there who's concerned about my specific skincare needs, right? And is not having a blanket approach to skincare, as in developing products in other markets, in Western markets, and passing them off to me. My skin is different and it requires a different approach. I think I need to put nice marketing words, right?
Yeah. I love what you said already about glowing skin and hydrated skin for our needs. So I definitely love that.
Yeah.
Nonhlahla, what put it in 2 sentences? What is your value proposition?
So really what we say to ourselves as Yami Shoulders is we're building or we're selling a world-class African brand that is inspired by Zulu beads. So all our items are inspired by Zulu. It doesn't matter what the item is. For now, we started with clothing, but we can expand. We will, not that we can. We'll be able to expand to any, depending on at the time where we want to be, we'll expand. But it's a premium brand that is selling items that are inspired by African or Zulu beadwork in this instance. That's what we sell. It could be anything. Don't be surprised when we get into electronics or whatever, you know.
I think Nonhlahla also to like now that as you're explaining, I realize actually your brand is so multi-layered because it starts with the prints it's it, right? And then you're just extending over everything. I'm thinking even bedding in my bedroom there, like bags.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what the future is for Yami and how you expand and continue to innovate.
So I'm quite curious, if I may ask, Nonhlahla, right, from a branding perspective. I mean, I like your brand. I love your brand. I think the product extensions, the handbags, and so forth, just are in line, right? With the positioning, or rather the inspiration being Zulu beadwork, how has your experience been with non-Zulu consumers?
Actually, I've had to answer that question. So the beads are a universal language, especially in South Africa, right? You see everyone wearing beads. That's the fascinating part about it, and that's what I saw as a proposition. So because everyone speaks to everyone, there are no issues. Our target market, unfortunately, because in marketing you have to start with a target market. It may have been black middle class, right? That's how we started. These are the people, but we understood that beads speak to everyone. So, and they are appealing to everyone. Therefore, items made from them that appeal to everyone. Now it's no longer even about black middle class. It's about upper middle class based on affordability, right? That's our target market because they are like universal. They are attractive to tourists. They're attractive to everyone. So it's more about the quality of what we offer more than now saying we're inspired by Zulu beads. We are inspired because we have to own a position, why we exist, how we started. That's how we started. That was our source. But now we're sharing, which speaks to a part of our story, by the way. Part of our story is about sharing this culture and heritage with the world. But the best way to share it is already in things that people are wearing, which is clothing. People are using bags. It's like sharing. I'm sharing my heritage with the world, and the world is receiving it well. That's what it's about.
Yes. Okay. No, thank you for that. I've always been quite fascinated in terms of, how if you focus your and you position the product as being inspired by a specific culture, how that impacts others. And you're right. Beats are universal. I'm Ndebele, so we wear deep beads as well. So yeah, but I was just quite fascinated to see how the message lands in other cultures. Mhm. Yeah.
Wow, yeah, that's quite interesting actually and insightful, Nana. Thank you for the question, Dr. Theo. Actually, and thank you, Nana, for such a comprehensive response to that question. Um, Dr. Theo, actually, I mean, I know we touched on it, but also is on your website. You have quite a user-friendly sort of website and purchasing as well of Uso scheme. You are on Takealot, you are on Superbalist as well. Um, and as you launched first in your website. Can you just talk a little, and I know you talked about it a little bit, the thinking behind where do I sell my product?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I think first and foremost is you going to sell. For us, it was important to be in the space where people are already purchasing skincare, number one, right? And they're already purchasing quality skincare from those, right? So yes, we launched with a 1 week pop-up and followed by our online store, and a year later, exactly 1 year later, we were in Edgar stores, so which was actually quite a great achievement because it's unheard of for of a new brand to actually be able to launch with a national retailer 1 year into markets, right? So then we were in Edgar's, and also Edgar spoke to that we were in a space where customers purchase similar products and similar brands, right? And thereafter, yes, and then when we left, and then COVID came, and then we maximized on our online presence, and I guess sort of like consumers became more comfortable with using e-commerce. We were quite lucky that we had already a functional e-commerce platform when COVID lockdowns started, right? So we're actually able to switch a lot of our customers who were going in store into Edgar stores to purchase on our website, right? And I think that us being able to convince customers who are e-commerce naive South African customers from a brick and mortar store to online, I think also gave us was encouraging, gave us confidence in that, okay, people actually like this brand and they will follow it to different platforms, right? Then we started expanding online and we expanded to Superbalist, Beauty on Tap, Takealot. And then what's similar across all those platforms is that people buy skincare, right? And those platforms sell quality skincare as well. Superbalist sells from Dermalogica to Clarence to everyone, right? Yeah, so now we're looking forward to the next phase of the brand. But I think what's important is that you're going to a place where people are already purchasing similar products and similar brands, right? And it is your target market that's already purchasing, and also that the brand is actually able to live the way it's supposed to live in markets, right? Like, I mean, we've tested a couple of other retail models where we had independent stockists, some salons, and oh my goodness, and the drama, and your product is not, somebody goes from my team, merchandises it, and then the owner of the salon moves it, and then now it's no longer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the way we want the products to be displayed is 1, 5, all over the shop. And it is so important. It's like small things like that, right? That the product, the retailer has to be able to maintain the way the product is supposed to live in the market, the branding as a brand. So yeah, that's kind of like our retail journey. And mhm, mhm, mhm.
I think I always find it interesting as well, just the online world. And I know we touched a little bit about the branding in the social media era. So how do you position your product online?
Yeah. So yeah, so I think same. I mean, like I'm quite, I have a social media manager who's far more knowledgeable than I am on social media. And yeah, and I think it's the same. It's ensuring that the brand comes across the same, the language of the brands, the imagery, just the content that's shared, boosted, is in line with the brand. So we always have like people sharing images or testimonials, or even in that, in resharing that, ensuring that it's actually still aligned with your brand, so that it remains consistent. So yeah, but I think in the era of social media, we all have to be very, very careful, in terms of how the brand communicates with its community. I mean, like I've seen some some horrendous things online. Some brands just like communicating with clients in such a harsh way, in such a, so you have to agreement as a team, that this is how the brand shows up, this is how the brand communicates, this is how the brand handles issues, complaints, and so forth, in a way that you know yeah, still leaves a positive perception in the customer's mind, and it's quite important. And I think one of the things that I know for sure is that you have to have somebody who is responsible for that. It can't be today it's this one, next week it's whoever, next week is whoever. One person has the overall responsibility on how the brand shows up digitally. Mm.
Thank you so much, Dr. Theo. Nonhlahla, thank you. You're back.
I'm so sorry. My battery died. So I was rushing to get the charger. So when I was just plugging it in, my phone switched off because I'm connecting from my phone because my laptop is quite slow. So I just let me use the phone.
No, that's great. Thank you so much for coming back. I think two questions, because you have a retail presence now, and I think you have a future and a target as as to how to present yourself. No, that's okay. I mean, we are online after all. Apologies, yeah, to everybody.
Maybe just as we're waiting for it to come back, we just have a few questions, maybe that's coming from our listeners, and maybe we can just step into that as we're waiting. Okay, just the first question had to do with how do we deal with a huge product demand, especially when you started out? How were you able to, with demand, how are you making sure that you actually are meeting demand from customers when you're starting out? So that's the question from Bastanapok on huge product demand. How do we deal with it?
Yes, hold on a second. The sound is not, the audio is not very clear. Do you mind repeating the question? If you did ask me the question, I'm not even sure.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Is it better now? I'm trying to
Yes.
move closer to the speaker.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. It's just a question on one of the questions that's coming from online. It's asking on how do we deal with huge product demand from customers, especially when you're not ready. I can imagine when you started USO, there was a time where you couldn't possibly meet the demand. So the idea is, what do we do as entrepreneurs at the stage where you still building, but the demand is there, but you can't meet it? What do you do?
Yes. No, we have a lot of experience in that. So yeah. So I mean, like first launch, really difficult to forecast what kind of demand you're going to have. You have no clue whatsoever, really, right? And thereafter, you have some sort of clue. But the supply chain, actually, supply chain in skincare is quite complicated, right? South Africa doesn't. We don't have ingredients, right? We don't, except for a few aloe, and I think we probably have like two. If there's anything in my product, I think we have two ingredients that we use that are locally sourced, as in
Sure.
sourced, either aloe or kind of like everything else is right. So we import, say in this product, there's probably 30 ingredients, right? And combination of botanical products as well as trusted pharmaceutical ingredients. And we import them using various distributors who are based in South Africa, and those distributors import on our behalf all over the world, right? So what happens, right, is that there'll be a shortage of X products because that's become the trendy in the market, right? And let's just say, for example, hyaluronic acid has become the trendiest ingredient, right? And there's only few companies that make it in the world, and everyone gets sources from them. So that means that I can't get that ingredient. That means that I cannot make the products. Isn't there's nothing I can do, right? I cannot make and we've had I know we've had stockouts because we have delays in this supply chain, and sometimes it's just one ingredient missing, but you know that it's not gonna be right. So so in terms of meeting demand, you can really do as much as you can. When you partner with a big then it becomes a little bit more predictable, as because they also have experience with other brands and they know their markets in their retail stores. So you can all sit together and forecast in terms of how much stock you're going to need in the different stores, right? But it's for not an easy one. Especially when you're on multiple platforms, right? It's not, and it's also it's got seasonal fluctuations. Winter months and December being the best months, and so you have to, it's quite an intricate process, and no, we have somebody who assists us and who's experienced in that to support us. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. Just as well, maybe being futuristic, where do you see, in terms of your industry, how do you see it transforming in the next 5 years? What is coming? And I like the fact that you already spoke to stuff that's coming out now before the festive season. There's so much going on. But do tell us, what does the future look like for you as Dr. CEO, as well as also as a brand?
Yeah. So I think I'm actually quite surprised in evolution of the industry in this country. I'm actually quite surprised. When we launched 5 years ago, I would have thought the industry would have been a bit more transformed. The hair care industry has transformed a lot, but the skincare is really still lagging, and I'm not too sure what the reason might be. So that's kind of like the industry outlook. I hope that we'll have more diversity on the shelves, right? I hope that be it Uso or any other African-owned skincare brand will be a star in a few years, amongst multinationals, right? Because there's not really any, right? We're still big global foreign brands are still dominating the industry very much. I hope that we'll get a little bit more support than we have so far, right? From whoever, financiers and whoever can support businesses like ours. Also, really, I think the journey continues. Of course, launching new products into the USO line. In the future, launching different ranges. I'm quite interested in. I'm quite interested in the teen market, the teenagers, skincare market. I'm still quite interested in the male market, but it's a small market, and we have male customers in any case using our current range. So I have an interest in lots and lots of things. I mean, I think for a brand like this with the right support and nurturing, really, anything is possible. I hope that our new retail partnership will work. And so that the product can be more accessible to those who are still not confident in shopping online. And I look forward to collaborations, and maybe I'll collaborate with Nonhlahla and she'll create some cosmetic bags for us or something like that. I love collaborations. One of the most successful promo item we ever put out in the market was towel head wraps, right? With we saw here. But it wasn't even actually about the towel head wraps, it was the story behind it, right? So I'm from a township called Soshanguve, right? And one of my childhood friends runs a women's cooperative thing, right? And then they have all these small businesses doing different things, and then the one sews, the other one embroiders, the other one does this and this. And then she said, "Oh, let me organize that." And then I said to her, I'm always looking for promo material. And she's like, "Let me think about it." And then she says, "Why don't you do this? And then you can tell the story about this women cooperative from Jungle doing this." And I promise you, the feedback that we received. So it actually wasn't even about the head wraps. It could have been anything, but it was just the story behind the creation of the items. And so that was quite. I'm always looking at partnerships.
I actually have that head
So
wrap.
I'm sorry that I missed on the two stories. It's like my phone, between my phone sabotaging me and my network. So when I was about to start talking, my phone, when the phone is charging and then it decides that it's not really at the point that it can take too much, it switched off. So that was like, yeah. So I missed on the two questions that you were asking, but I caught on what she's talking about now. Probably you wanna just repeat them for me.
I think the one that I really wanted, especially you to answer, is the balance, the brand presence online. Because when you launch, you were also just predominantly online, and then the decisions to go on retail. And I guess the follow up was then, because I know, how does the next 5 years or 10 years look like for the brand as well? Because I know you have some great innovative plans and expansion as well from a physical presence point of view. Yeah.
So online is a very interesting market. It's very small unless you have a huge database. So online would be driven by how many followers you have on your social media. In other words, the more people are exposed to your products, the more chances are that you're going to get customers from them. I always make an example with the case of Kim Kardashian and her schemes. So she has a database of about 362 million followers. Out of that, she at least is most likely will get, say, 10 million people buying from her, at the very least, right? Now, when you are still growing a brand and your online presence is small, then your sales from online will also be very small. So it's directly proportional. So the higher the database, the stronger your online presence, the more likely that your online sales will grow. Also, the online behavior is also very interestingly different to the physical store, because now our customers are able to touch and feel our brand, right? They are able to experience it in store. They are much more likely to buy when they walk in store than when they were going to be online. Online is now driven by what new innovation have we brought in, and from the customers that have bought from us in the past, loyal customers that have experienced our brand, they are most likely going to come and buy it again because they know already that this is the quality of the brand that they're buying in, especially at the price point we're in, right? When our items, for example, dresses are ranging anything these days to 4,000. So we're asking someone to spend 4,000. It better be a credible brand for them to spend 4,000, especially when there's online scams, so many online scams. And then we're competing with AMI counterfeits, so they don't know, right? They could find a dress there that looks like ours and it's 200 rand. Why can't they spend this 200 rand there? So it's about the stronger you are, the more likely that your brand is going to grow online. And it takes money, a lot of money to grow online presence, but it's necessary because it also speaks to the brick and mortar. So through our online, a lot of people still want to come and experience. So if you were to look at the splits, it's more like 20, 80, 20. So 80 would be our brick and mortar, and then online is 20. So yeah.
And what does the next 5 to 10 years look like for you on a personal level? I think we chatted about that earlier on as well as for the brand, for EM.
Well, at a personal level, I would like to enjoy life a bit more. I think I would have started building the legacy, having made this impact. So I'd like to, just live a life that's like a soft life, as you guys say. I would like that for myself. I dream of that. Now, at a brand/business level, I see, I know, for example, AM would have about 10 stores here in South Africa. No doubt. We've created we've got the brand element, so it doesn't stop us from exporting the brand. We see it just being a global brand. We still have to identify markets where we can start putting in our in-store presence. We have a view of where we could start based on our swimwear. It's appealing. So, so yeah, the brand will be a global brand in 10 years now, 5 to 10 years now. There's really nothing stopping us because we have the framework.
Wow. Sure. Dr. Theo, we slowly come into a close. If you were to have, what advice would you give somebody who wants to create something and build a brand and just explore this entrepreneurship journey?
Research.
Research.
I think research, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a researcher, but I think, research, know as much as you can as a team about the business you're going into, about the product you're going into, about what drives sales, like right now, everything is online, right? Like everything is everything is online. Do the research, to at least give your dream a fighting chance, right? And it's all information based. That's my belief. If you have the right information and the right insights, you can achieve everything. But you have to put in the work to research in order to get the insights, right? So for me, that's really the most important. Go into a business that is not going to bore you, like into whether it's a service or a product that is not going to bore you as the founder. It's a different road. It's a challenging road, right? And then you need to be in a business that excites you, or else you're going to lose steam, right? You're going to be like, today I'm selling Tupperware, tomorrow I'm selling this one. I'll not very inspired. So it's very important to go into something that you are passionate about. That goes a long way. So those are my two. I'd say research and going to something that you're passionate about, and also ensure that you surround yourself with the right people. You can't do it all alone. It's not possible. It's not possible. You can't do the accounting, product development, run the social media. It's not possible. Right? We know that get a partner. Try to get the right partner. Sometimes difficult. Yeah.
Wow. Nonhlahla, anyone who's thinking I'm the next Nonhlahla?
So probably I'll start with that. We need a lot more entrepreneurs. It's such a difficult journey, but they are needed. They are needed because think about it. How many companies out there that were started? All companies out there were started by someone with an idea, right? So if your idea is giving you sleepless nights, if your idea is setting up your soul on fire, probably that idea is a calling. Probably that idea is a purpose. So I urge everyone for us to contribute into reducing unemployment is go out there and put that idea, bring that idea to life. Now, how do you bring that idea into life? I will not sugarcoat. Entrepreneurship is hard. It's hard because the system is set against you. You are going against the current. Depending on your chosen idea, you are likely not to get funding. You will only get funding when you've proven that your idea brings money. So in other words, while you're building this idea for the first 5 years, you're going to have to cough it from you. You need to be the person that makes it work. That is why it's so important that your idea is the idea that sets your soul on fire. Because if it doesn't, then you'll give up along the way. Now, I'm going to leave just for me what I tell people, what maybe the traits that you need and maybe the toolkit that you need in this journey, right? So first, you access to money, obviously, but it's not a biggie. It's not a biggie. What is bigger is the strong network, because the strong network will invest in your idea. They will give you money if they believe in your idea. So the strong network is key. They will sustain you. They will motivate you. They will sustain you, support you, and invest in your idea. It's the confidence in yourself, because remember, you are a brand. People invest in you. They hear the idea, but then they ask the question, will this person execute? And they're not going to abandon the idea halfway. If they already believe that you are the person that will see this idea through, they'll put in that money. So you have to have confidence. You have to be some sort of a brand yourself, as in within the network, they should at least believe that I know Unana I know she's going to do this. As I can see it, she's passionate about it, how she speaks about it, she's going to do it. You also have to be confident in the idea itself. It's so important. It's important because when you are not finding that funding and when things are going south, you ask yourself, is this even worth it? Is this big as I thought it is? And then you're like, I quit somewhere. You want to quit somewhere along the way. But if it's big enough, right, then you're not going to quit. You believe in it. You believe, you can see it. The vision is so clear in your mind that this thing, I have to do this thing. It's just, I have to do it, right? And then I think the last one will be, maybe the second last one is faith. So it's you have to have faith in the journey. So it's like entrepreneurship is like you're climbing stairs, not seeing the path where the stairs are leading. Each time you take a step, the stairway opens up. That's what it is really. So if you don't have faith because maybe you no longer believe in your idea, or you just don't have faith it's gonna work, then it's a non-starter. Because a lot of things will require your faith. You throw in there and trust that people will buy in your idea. You go, for example, and say, I'm gonna sign the lease, but I don't have the funding right now. But I believe I'm gonna be able to get the investors to invest in the store. So if you don't have that faith, then you're gonna not even take the leap. You're not gonna take that step because you are afraid, right? And then the last one, which is important, I think the journey teaches you, unless you probably have some part of it is grit. The journey is so hard that it requires constant show up despite the difficulty. It requires perseverance. It requires determination. The journey cooks you up. So you have to show up, but you show up because of the stuff that I've mentioned. You show up because you have faith, you believe in your idea, you believe in yourself. You have a strong network that supports you. So you just have to keep pushing and pushing. someone gave me I'm going to mention two things. Said it's like you plant and plant, you're not seeing the results. And then someone sent me a quote and said, God is saying, I didn't ask you to worry about the results. I asked you to worry about planting and watering this. Keep watering it. The results will come. The other key one, sorry, I think my battery is doing something dodgy now. My battery died.
Okay. So it must set us all on fire. That's what Keith said.
I like how you phrased it, Dr. Theo. Your idea must set your soul on fire, it must keep you going. And another thing that you mentioned collaboration. You can't be everything to your business. You need to acknowledge areas that are not your strength areas, and perhaps bring other people in, to just keep the fire burning. And I guess for Nonhlahla's point of view, it's so hard and so lonely that it helps that in some season within the journey you can bring somebody in to help you with this, bring somebody in to assist you with this. um, I am so grateful, Dr. Theo, for you to join us here today. It's just so disappointing that ideas and businesses. It's businesses like Uso, businesses like EI, and with all the grit, with everything that you put, with the value that you ladies have not been funded yet. I'm correct in saying that you have not received any outside funding
No.
as yet.
Well, I have.
Yeah.
No.
Have I?
Yeah.
But
So
but
I mean, so we can like with funding. I mean, like, and as a entrepreneur, that's one of your roles, is to fundraise for your business, and growth and expansion of your business is one of your role. But I think we also get exhausted, right? You just like,
yeah,
I'm tired, right? I'm hearing, um, you know, there's actually no, for me, at least in the local setting, no concreteness to the feedback that I get, because I'm like, "Oh, okay, if you're not funding this business, which one are you going to fund?" Because a business like Miami has got all the elements for great growth, right? A great founder, an educated founder, dedicated founder who has already invested their own money and time, sweat equity, financial equity into the business, who has sales and says, I can make these sales 10 times or 20 times. I just need this amount of money to be able to do A, B, C, and D. And it's just, yeah, I actually have no clue what's going on in South Africa. So I kind of like parts, and then you go through seasons and you're like, okay, now I'm ready to go back and fundraise. And then after that, you're like, you know what? Okay, right? Let me just find other ways and fund the business using the business money, my own money. And also in the fundraising process, you actually have to be so careful, right? That process can actually take up so much resources of your business
yeah,
that it can put the focus of a business to sell, right? That should be the focus of it, right? But the way the fundraising process is, like, in requirements and resource requirements, you can actually easily lose focus on actually the purpose of the real reason your business is there. The number one activity is to sell,
yeah.
right? I don't know, Nonhlahla, what your experience is. Mm.
So I was laughing when you said, who do you fund?
Eh? Who do they fund?
When you said, well, it's a mystery. So I said, now maybe we are in a position to probably attract funding. We'll see. We're doing a round now. Let's see how this one
Yeah.
goes. So we quite
Yeah.
optimistic. We feel our books are much stronger. Our assets, our balance sheet is much healthier than before. So, like I said, money attracts money from my experience now in this.
I don't know if now having stronger balance sheets will guarantee funding, like I'm saying. So uh, I will see how this round works out. So yeah, it's such a beautiful thing. I painful.
Oh, mm, can't hear. Wow, what a
Yeah,
shame.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. What a pity, really. But I think it's just it's so sad that there aren't available funds for entrepreneurs. And I think to Nana said earlier, I think before we join as well, to say so many people sitting with great ideas, so many passionate entrepreneurs, and they're just not getting funding. And I think it's been very like the biggest sort of vibrant employers in the country right now is small businesses. We really, as a country, need to start putting more funds, I guess, in the small and medium businesses sector to get them funded and to get them going. Dr. Theo, we are so grateful to have had you today. Thank you so much for sharing the story of USO, the evolution. Anyone who wants and is looking to hear from Dr. Theo and USO can go to their website, USO Skincare. Um, they are on Take a Lot, they are on Superbalist, they are everywhere where you will find your premium face skincare. Thank you, Dr. Theo.
For having
Nana,
me. I enjoyed the
yeah,
conversation. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you, Nonhlahla, for sharing your journey and your nuggets. And before you got cut off, you were dropping some gems,
yeah.
right? Thank you so much,
I thought the network
Tumelo.
is sabotaging me between my network and my phone.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tumelo and Matafanolo, for having us. And yeah, I quite enjoyed the conversation. Mm.
Thank you so much, Nana. Thank you so much. Uso Skincare is in Mall of Africa, Oceans. Is it Ocean Gate or Oceans Mall? The new mall in Devon. Yummy, yummy lifestyle, yummy lifestyle. Uso Skincare, yummy lifestyle. Um, and also, if you want to see what they have to offer, they're online as well. Check out Yummy Lifestyle, and hopefully you get to visit one of their stores. Nana, thank you. Nonhlahla. Yes.
Mm. Eh? Thank you very much. Mm.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
It
you.
was really nice to sit and
Amazing,
chat.
amazing
It felt like I'm
conversation.
chatting to a group of friends about my problem.
Thank you so much.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.